funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday on the Weekday Network, Rumble X, YouTube. Check us out, subscribe, type in iNewsWire, Roy Blecker, and all them. You'll see my nice, smiling, shining face. Lots of stuff to get through. We have an update on the Clarissa Cervantes meltdown at the City Council, where they rejected, finally, the stupidity of the whole vagrant housing con that's been going on. Little Stevie Hernandez, the embattled mayor of Coachella's corruption case, hit the grand jury. We'll have an update on that. Why parents were badass in the 1970s and the lessons they taught their kids and the difference today and why they get to wear that title. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. Michael Gates has announced for Attorney General of California. We'll get into depth that. Maybe update some more on the California budget fandango going on of that. This is why when you don't take care of biz, whether it's the vagrants or bears under the house, they're giving the poor guy crap. The government couldn't get the bear out of the house or did that and gave up. So now the bear's just going to the next house, the next house. This is how you lose when you don't have no balls. I don't know how else to say it. Here's the ABC7 report. Here we go.
That was evicted from an Altadena home. Last week, the Bear League helped the homeowner remove the bear known as Yellow 2120 using paintballs to scare him out of the property. This video is all from that first home. Today, the nonprofit sharing an update. The bear went into the crawl space of another home after being evicted. He stayed there for 1 day before moving into a third home. The Bear League also assisting the third family putting electrical mats to spook.
Okay. If everybody, it's like, oh, why do you need the Second Amendment? Only the cops need guns. You don't need, you crazy white, mentally deranged white hillbillies gonna kill us all. This, again, the government didn't get rid of the bear. They wouldn't let the man or the community get rid of the bear. So the bear's just taking over whatever house he decides to move into. How does this not sound like the vagrants, the squatters, and the whole thing? The knife-wielding, samurai-holding dude that if you got squatters in your home that you can't get rid of, you got to call him up to get him out. And then they want to try to sue you. It's like that. Oh, if you harm a soul on the bear, we can't do that. But if they wind up getting under your home or eating your kid or you, bears are freaking dangerous animals. They're 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 pounds. They can kill you in a second. Now this bear just decides, like everybody else, well, hey, this looks like a nice place to flop to. Goes to show how our societies, we've got to get our balls back and take care of business. The bear's a threat to the community. You remove the bear by whatever means necessary takes to get rid of the bear. How come we can't? Extremely frustrating that we can't get to that concept. One update, and this is the story we ran, or that after we did the show last night, on the meltdown of Clarissa Cervantes at the council meeting, who's pushing for the vagrant housing, and Mayor Patty D down there, Patricia Dawson. Oh, it's like, oh, we get a $20 million grant. Oh, we can't refuse it. Now, this gets back to my thing. At least Chuck Conder and Sean Mill, which you see pictured, and Steve Robillard and Phil Falcone, safety prevails. They rejected this corrupt deal that's got us into the mess we're in. And then you have Clarissa, along with No Balls, Jim Perry, and Steve Hemingway. Yeah, the council members that voted for this. Thankfully, they had a majority that defeated them. But they didn't say anything. You know, Perry and Hemingway, have some freaking balls and stand up. At least Clarissa stood up for what she believed in, even though it was a hysterical rant. You guys are just sitting there, well, if you want to be stupid, if you want to do stupid policies, then people should know that come election time. Or when you mention the name Jim Perry who's quitting, that fool. Some more fallout from the project. They had a candidate. She's running for assembly against Leticia Castillo. And Assembly District 58, which is basically Riverside, Corona, Norco, General Eastvale. You must support Leticia Castillo, who defeated the drunk 2 years ago for the assembly seat. She's trying to run for it again. Good news is she's off the Riverside City Council. But there's pretty much a race. I don't know the other candidates, but I know Gracie Torres, the water board member, big supporter of Gabby Placentia, the Looney Tune that Sean Mill beat. The thug. And, off the woke end, and Gracie's been out on a tour of, I'm not so radical, and I've changed my ways on this. Balderdash. Mike Vail is the other candidate running for the Ward 2 seat, and they had a candidates forum again last night. And the question was, would you vote for it? Mike Vail said no. I think the other candidates, and I don't remember their names, gave their opinions. And when Gracie was asked, oh, well, I'd have to ask my constituents, and I don't know how you... Shut up. You've been on the Western Municipal Water Board elected for what, almost 8 years? You know how the process works. If you were for the project, proudly stand up for it. If you were against it, which you should have been, then proudly say I was against it. None of this mealy mouth. It's like we can't get rid of the damn bears under the house, making the community dangerous. We can't get rid of this stupid, as Sean Mills said, the housing first model has failed. God damn it. Don't give a crap if your sister Sabrina believes in it, or Gulag Gavin Newsom, or Karen Bass, or whomever. It has failed. We're not doing, at least Riverside finally said, we're not perpetuating failure. Again, we got to get back to, and hopefully the tide is turning, that we're not doing stupid, we're not passing these boondoggle projects. You can melt down and scream and holler all you want, Clarissa, or any of you wokeologists or whatever. We're just not doing that anymore. Plain and simple. Had enough of it. We brought to you, and as I've coined him, little Stevie Hernandez, the embattled mayor of Coachella, who was also, while he's on paid leave, chief of staff of 4th District, the Lower Desert, Palm Springs, Indio area, Supervisor Victor Manuel Perez, who represents the 4th District, and hired little Stevie as his chief of staff. The allegations levied and charges filed by the Riverside County District Attorney's Office, led by District Attorney Mike Hestron, charged him with various corruption and perjury counts, saying he voted on projects that enriched him, didn't disclose it, and a whole host. I think he's got 9 felony and misdemeanor charges he's facing at this particular time. Well, KESQ Channel 3 got a hold of the grand jury transcripts and did some reports. Where's the Desert Sun or anybody else reporting this stuff? Or me? I mean, I was jumping all over the little Stevie Hernandez, and it's on the record. I was down at the County Board of Supervisors. Remember, this is a clown. When Trump came to Coachella and had the rally in 24 in October of 24, and he said, "We don't want Trump in our community. Our community doesn't want to vote for him," which they were one of the biggest flips, percentage-wise gains voting for Trump and all that. And Jeff Gonzalez won the assembly seat over their goofball candidate. One of the 2 seats we flipped from Democrat to Republican. So, the other one was Leticia Castillo beating Clarissa. But the whole thing of the corruption and if you don't do what I say, Denise Delgado, the mayor pro tem, said it, or according to the grand jury testimony that she gave, said he ran it like a dictator. If you didn't kiss his little rear end, you were out. He ran it like Maduro, Stalin, with an iron fist. Now, if he did that, according to the allegations from Mayor Pro Tem Denise Delgado, how do you think the supervisor's office at Victor Manuel Perez is run over there with him as chief of staff? Very interesting times we're in. We'll get some more updates on this. And much, much more. Caroline Levitt roasting the Wokologist reporter. Maybe the Insurrection Act, that whole deal going on in Minnesota, and the ICE agents, and how it pertains to out here, and much, much more. Yes, the much, much more of coming on. We'll have much more to say, of course, on the Clarissa Cervantes situation going down in Riverside, and Clear Cross headed east about 100 miles to Coachella, and a little Stevie Hernandez and All Points Bulletin in between on all of that stuff. It's very, very interesting, as the old saying goes. Check out, type into your start page, go.go search engine, and type in Laugh-In and Artie Johnson. A lot of very interesting news is breaking out. The whole ICE thing, and it's concentrated in Minnesota, and we'll get to that in a sec. But it has to do with California. We've had LA County, the supervisors are trying to pit LA Sheriff's Department against ICE, much like they're doing in Minnesota and elsewhere in the wokologist cities, sanctuary cities and states. And I really hope that Trump does stand by his ground to pull the funding from sanctuary states and cities. because that's going to be extremely necessary as we roll through this stuff. Here, hopefully, yes. Oh, there it is. Maybe. Thought I had it. Mr. Saley, over the mask things that Scott Wiener has been trying to pull, one of the first things salvos they fired. Here's Mr. Saley, hopefully, addressing...
Cannot be subject to local or state prosecution. So even if it was a generally applicable law, it's not going to apply to federal law enforcement. And I think they know that. This is all, I think, theatrics, and they want to make it look like they're doing something without really doing anything.
As the Saley said, it's all theatrics. Like the deal at L.A. County with Horvath, the supervisor. A complete psycho chick, wokeologist nut. Here's another clip from Mr. Saley.
He wants to appease his woke mob there in San Francisco, and so he's happy to throw law enforcement under the bus if it advances his political agenda. And I guess he thinks this is going to help his campaign or somehow. But it's very bad policy, and the other legislators up in Sacramento, to the extent there's any adults left up there, should reject this as bad policy because, again, it will not accomplish his stated intentions of trying to subject federal agents to liability. All he's going to...
Just like Horvath. They're trying to direct L.A. Sheriff's Department to go out and arrest ICE agents. It's like they're doing in Minnesota. It's beyond the ridiculous amount of pale, as we say, that we're even in this situation. But we are. We had the deal now in Minnesota. First, let's show you the New York Philly Times headline. Federal agent shoots immigrant in Minneapolis, Homeland Security says. Agent shot the immigrant from Venezuela in the leg while trying to arrest him. Officials said shooting comes a week after ICE agent fatally shot. We know all the BS they've run on that. So here's actually what happened, narrated by Bill Malusian, of the nice young man from Venezuela that they've been trying to say. Here we go.
8 p.m. Central Time tonight. Quote, federal law enforcement officers were conducting a targeted traffic stop in Minneapolis of an illegal alien from Venezuela who was released into the country by Joe Biden in 2022. In an attempt to evade arrest, the subject fled the scene in his vehicle and crashed into a parked car. The subject then fled on foot. The law enforcement officer caught up to the subject on foot and attempted to apprehend him when the subject began to resist and violently assault the officer. While the subject and law enforcement were in a...
So he didn't follow the Chris Rock edict of be polite, pull over, obey their commands, and you won't get beat by the police or ICE or anyone else.
Struggle on the ground. Two subjects came out of a nearby apartment and also attacked the law enforcement officer with a snow shovel and broom handle. As the officer was being...
So two other guys show up, as you see their pictures here, with a broom handle and a shovel and try beating. Now it's 3-1. 3 illegal immigrants, probably gangbangers, Tren de la Agra or whatever. Now the ICE agent's dealing on 3-1. Mind you, hasn't pulled his weapon yet.
Ambushed and attacked by the two individuals. The original subject got loose and began striking the officer with a shovel or broomstick. Fearing for his life and safety as he was being ambushed by 3 individuals, the officer fired defensive shots to defend his life. The initial subject was hit in the leg. All 3...
We need to get the ICE officer more training. 3-1. They're taking weapons. Should have shot him dead in the chest. And got the other ones. You're gonna help. That ICE agent is extremely lucky. His heart is still beating today.
Subjects ran back into the apartment and barricaded themselves inside. The attacked officer and subject are both in the hospital. Both attackers are in custody. This is another attack. This attack on another brave member of law enforcement took place while Minnesota's top leaders, Governor Walz and Mayor Frey, are actively encouraging an organized resistance to ICE and federal law enforcement officers. Their hateful rhetoric and resistance against men and women who are simply trying to do their jobs must end. So a very lengthy statement there, Sean, but it sounds a whole lot more complicated than what we initially had, that this was one person involved with a shovel. It sounds like ICE was going after a Venezuelan illegal
immigrant who had deportation orders under Joe Biden, if I remember correctly.
Alien who had been caught and released at the border by the Biden administration in 2022. That person crashed into a parked car, got out and fled. ICE was chasing him down, and then while they were wrestling on the ground, two people came out of a nearby apartment and then started attacking the ICE officer with shovels. And during that ambush attack, that is when the officer pulled out his weapon, fired, and hit one.
So there you have it. That's the report that was released by ICE, Homeland Security. But the New York Times, the paper of record, federal agent shoots immigrant. In Minneapolis, Homeland Security says the agent shot an immigrant from Venezuela in the leg while trying to arrest him. Officials said the shooting comes a week after ICE agents fatally shot a woman in the Siberian. No wonder nobody trusts them anymore. You know, even the LA Times, Chicago Trib, WAPO, New York Times, even though they always kind of trended center left, they at least were honest mostly, or enough that you could at least trust the information you were getting from them. Now they are propaganda tools to spread chaos and despair in our lives every day. And as we say, this ish is going to stop. And not must stop, it's going to stop. We're not tolerating those. The insurrectionists. And I will say this, and I know it's going to be controversial, and the Supreme Court says, yeah, you know, maybe the National Guard is, but you have the Supreme Court told Trump, if there is unrest and you believe it, you have the Insurrection Act, which means you can send in the case.
30 seconds, 30 seconds.
The president has, under the Insurrection Act, the full authority to put the military in a law enforcement position in the United States. They're pushing that button to get that going, and that's not going to be good. But if they keep pushing it, then that's maybe where we're going to have to go. Trump's going to have to make that tough decision, and that's why he's in the hot seat.
2 seconds, here we go.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky side guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met, 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire. Aforementioned AM band, join your vast video audience on the Evil FB Network, Rumble, X, YouTube. Type in iNewsWire, Roy Bleckert. You'll see my nice, smiling, shining face. You can also get our archives on from, I don't know, who knows when. Seems like forever we've been doing this little gig on that. Actually, well, we'll be into this 10 years. Starting the beginning or around the 10-year mark, I've been on the air in some capacity out here. Lots of stuff going on. They couldn't get rid of the damn bear out there in Altadena or wherever it was. You know, that they're trying to shoot, and now it's just going from house to house because we're not taking care of business. The bear needs to be removed from the community by however means it has to be removed to the community. Not going toot, toot, toot with a gay-sounding horn or whatever they were trying to do, or getting the Save the Bears group out there to shuffle them from one house to the other. Just like with vagrants and drug addicts and people who want to murder and disobey the laws of this country and come here illegally, they must be dealt with. We've got to get our balls back. 2026 had better be the year of the badass, or we're all going down. We updated the Clarissa Cervantes, Councilwoman Ward 2 from Riverside, who had the meltdown and things that went on that. And as you see on iNews, where you can read that story, or the one on embattled mayor of Coachella, little Stevie Hernandez, in his corruption case, which hit the grand jury in some very, very, very deep revelations. The mayor pro tem, Denise Delgado, basically said little Stevie ran Coachella like a dictator. If you didn't do what he said, you were punished. And if you continued to not do what he said, things got worse. Mind you, well, he's on paid leave, but he was chief of staff of Victor Manuel Perez, the 4th District Supervisor down there in the lower desert area, Palm Springs, Coachella. How do you think Victor's office was run? Lots and much, much more we covered in the first half hour on the web. You can catch the archives on that. They're going sideways. I just want to update this a little bit. New York Post is putting it in. I can't wait to see the California Post when it comes out. But California loses mind-boggling $1 trillion in wealth the past month alone over fears of the billionaire tax wealth guru. I think I just heard a statistic, but I'm going to run it down. 20% of the California state income tax is paid by 200 people, those billionaires. They've already been bailing out just from that. So all you SIU folks, they're trying to get this billionaires tax in, trying to save your little heinies over there that have been screwing us for God knows decades. This is a fact, and they're already showing you. They have money. They can buy lots of homes in Florida, on the French Riviera, Monaco, or Canada, or wherever. And they can declare they're living over here and bypass your little taxi. So if you're not going to get in there, you know where they're coming next? Your pocket. So don't be stupid. Just like the LA Fire Department's going on and wanted to put a 0.5-cent sales tax because they're doing, they got legitimate reasons to do it. But don't put a new tax. Why don't you put it on there that you're going to dump the vagrant tax and use that for the fire department, or dump both of them and get rid of a lot of those stupid programs and actually do what's constitutional, what the people have declared, a state of California have declared in the California Constitution, the public safety is first. That gets funded, priority number 1. Let's get back. You guys got unprecedented amount of monies. And maybe we'll get into the statistics and all that. But the answer is not passing a new tax to make this stuff work. You're gonna further get less tax revenue, and all they're gonna do is take the fire department off the books, and then they're gonna do more vagrant housing or whatever. Save the whales. It's about time we got rid of stupid. I wanted to get to this one. I've had it in here all week. This is from Veg Out. If your parents taught you these things in the 70s, which 98.7% of them did, they prepared you better than most modern parenting books. Let's roll through what they did back in the day. And I hope you hate that expression, because we're going to shove it down your throat and pull it out your rear end till you understand why things are going wrong. Do your part without expecting praise. One of the most consistent lessons from that area was simple. You contribute because it's your responsibility, not because someone is applauding you. You did your chores, you helped clean up, you followed through, because that was part of living in that household. As in, oh, you don't want to wash the car today? Fine. We're going to hang you upside down on your toenails and see how you like that. Tell you what, you couldn't find a bucket, the water hose, and some soap frickin' fast enough when you heard that. For all you tutti fruities and this and that have been going out there, this is why the kids are screwed up today, because we've gotten away from this. And it was in the 70s and the 60s and the 40s and the 18th century and everywhere else. We just got off this track in the last 20 or 30 years. Learn how to be bored. Boredom was not treated like a problem that needed immediate fixing. If there was nothing to do, you figured out something to do, or you sat there until you came up with something to do, or if you said it the second time, you would be getting a list of directives of what you are going to do. Oh, you're bored? Well, here's a shovel. You're going to dig a 4-foot by 4-foot by 2-foot hole. And then when you're done digging the hole, you get to fill the hole back up and stomp it in and compact it. And if you're still bored, you'll get to do it again. Talk to adults like adults. Kids were expected to look people in the eye, answer questions clearly, and hold basic conversations with adults. You might not have enjoyed it, but you learn quickly how to engage respectfully. Yes. You knew exactly, and if you smarted off and you weren't respectful, you got a backhand upside the head. Or, as my mom used to do, her favorite thing was take her shoe off and start beating the crap out of you. My late mother, who was like 5'2" and 90 pounds. fix it or work around it. When something broke, your first instinct was rarely to replace it immediately. You tried to fix it, patch it, or at least understand why it stopped working. In other words, nobody's going to come to your rescue. If something happens, you better have enough smart, sharp brains or ability to deal with it. Mommy's not going to rescue and say, oh, time out and safe space and all that. They were teaching you to have your ish together. Actions matter more than intentions. Good intentions were not treated as enough on their own. If you said you were going to do something, the expectation was you were going to follow through on it. Not, oh, like this, and it automatically appeared. You know, if you want that, you get your butt out there and get it frickin' done. Expect me to do that? I'll show you what expectations I got, was the answer you would get back. Money is a tool, not a personality. Money conversations in the 70s were often practical and aspirational. You learned about saving, budgeting, limits, without turning wealth into an identity. There was less emphasis on lifestyle signaling and more emphasis on not wasting what you had. You learned that resources were finite and choices mattered. You want what? You are absolutely out of your flipping mind. What do you think? I'm made of money around here. I'm busting my ass 24/7, 365, and you want to sit there on the couch and demand this? Holy Christ. If you would hear that today, the kid would be calling the CPPS or the cops and having the parent arrested. You were responsible for your choices. Mistakes as treating as something that you owned. You did not always get rescued from the consequences, even when the consequences were uncomfortable. Oh, you fell off your bike and skinned your knee? Bet you won't do that again. And the list goes on. This taught cause and effect early. You learn to think ahead because outcomes were real and often immediate. Psychology consistently links a sense of agency to resilience. When people believe their choices matter, they adapt faster when things go wrong. I've said it 92 gazillion freaking times. You learn the things that stick with you are the things you learn by your failures. And those failures allow you what they're talking about. They allow you to solve a problem. Don't panic when something goes wrong. We're going to figure it out. We're going to get the job done. That's what is expected of you. As you're a kid, this is what's going to be, you are going to have to deal with when you become an adult. This is what we've got. We've gotten totally away from that. In the homes, in the schools, in society. Life does not need constant optimization. There was less obsession with doing everything the best possible way. You did things because they worked well enough and it fit into your daily life. Everything didn't have to be perfect. You didn't have to dress to the nines, or your clothes had to be perfect, or you had to have the perfect haircut, or you had to have tattoos, or whatever. And if you didn't have, your world wasn't falling apart. Meals were simple, routines were predictable, and not every decision was up for debate. No kidding. There was no debate that the car better be washed and the lawn better be mowed and the trash picked up before you're going out on Saturday. Oh, you don't like what we fixed you for dinner? The lecture would go on for an hour and a half. This lesson builds tolerance for imperfection and reduces decision fatigue. You learn that stability often matters more than novelty. You learn that you can deal with stuff. You learn how to deal with stuff. It wires your brain as a kid when 98.7% of the brain wiring takes place. To be able to deal with life, the challenges, the victories, the defeats. Today, that seems like a radical concept. And we're seeing the consequences of the feminization of the world. Not everything about the 70s, it wasn't perfect. Or the 60s, or the 30s, or the 18th century, or the 17th century, or whatever. But they knew how to get the frickin' job done, no matter what the circumstances were. They didn't back down. They didn't back up. They didn't run to their little 3x5 security blanket. Having definitely grew up and lived in that era, it's why you look at society today and you go like, holy cow. This is the stuff that we must turn around. If we don't turn this around, we don't get back to making, not expecting, demanding. That kids have the tools to not only survive but thrive as they become adults. And this is what you're seeing all across the board. The lower testosterone, the failing school systems, kids can't think for themselves. They just go to pieces. If the slightest thing goes wrong, they don't know what to do. They'll sit out there and they see the cops and they're screaming at them that are trying to make their community frickin' livable and trying to keep the evil crime elements out from taking over, and dictators and stuff are for cleaning out, for taking over your city. They're trying to keep that and you're out there beating the crap out of them, yelling and screaming and stomping and trying to avoid that. Because you have no concept of you, and I don't blame them. They weren't raised in a concept of reality. They were raised in this Alice in Wonderland, whatever, just fantasy land. And you see the results. They can't deal with reality. You saw that with Clarissa Cervantes' meltdown at the City Council of Riverside. You're not making a case. You're not saying this. No, we're going to do the failed policy for the 947,462nd time, and it's going to work this time. And if you're not doing what I say, I'm going to yell and scream and call you names and mind-boggling. Here's Adam Carolla. I'll do my best. Maybe.
I did my best. And when you did your best and it's still a show, that means you're which is a weird thing that people don't realize, that when they screw the pooch and then announce they did their best, well, then what are we really saying?
No clearer, concise, and truer words were ever spoken. Oh, you did your best. Oh, you tried. Now, maybe that you might have heard that once in a while, if they thought you really gave your best effort, but not as an excuse. Most of the time it was, oh, you're embarrassing me. No kid of mine's going to be a screw up like that, because that's going to be a reflection on me, and you're going to get your blank together. You didn't use, oh, I just tried, I did my best. No, you were expected to get the job done and get it done right, on time. No histrionics, no crap, no back talk. Just get the job done. Got to get this one in. Caroline Levitt roasts this woke reporter from the Hill. Oh, the ICE agent killed her and all that. This is what we got to get back to. 100% like this.
Thanks, Caroline. Earlier, you were just defending ICE agents generally, and earlier on, Secretary Noem spoke to the media, and she said, among other things, that they are doing everything correctly. 32 people died in ICE custody last year. 170 US citizens were detained by ICE, and Renee Good was shot in the head and killed by an ICE agent. How does that equate to them doing everything correctly?
Why was Renee Good unfortunately and tragically killed?
Are you asking me my opinion? Because an ICE agent acted recklessly and killed her unjustifiably.
Oh, okay. So you're a biased reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist, and it's so clear by the premise of your question. And you and the people in the media who have such biases but fake like you're a journalist, you shouldn't even be sitting in that seat. But you're pretending like you're a journalist, but you're a left-wing activist.
Caroline Levitt is a mom, that's exactly what your mom and most moms would have said in the 70s. They wouldn't have put up with that crap. And you knew if you didn't know the first, by the third word out of their mouth, you knew you were in deep Bandini. And that's what we got to get back to. Is more and more and more. We definitely need to get our balls back, get our badass on, and we're not taking this crap no more. No way, no how, not from anyone. And the clowns that didn't want Caroline Levitt to be the press secretary, don't listen to them. I'm glad Trump kept her on. It's the type of stuff we need to counteract the stupidity that's been going on for far too long. We're going to stop it. We must stop it if we want any hope in the future. 111%. That'll do it for today. We usually say at this time, mandatory you're back here 23 hours wide. You're the best darn show in the whole wide world. Till then, see ya.
Have a great night.
You got it.